Welcome to my second installment in my modding tutorial series. Today I'm going to be going through a couple of things that some people have asked me about, mainly adding, things to a car. So I'm going to add bumpers to this car. I'm going to take bumpers from another mod that I've worked on. This one is private. And then I'm going to take the velocity stack from this mod and add it to this mod, but I won't texture it, so I'll just go through the basics of texturing something in KsEditor. So main thing is, like I have said in my previous videos, I do use 3DSIMED and I use Blender. So 3DSIMED to add objects and whatnot so that I can keep all of the textures, but I will show you what it's like when you just add it in Blender, import a second car and then are forced to texture it yourself, which is something people have run into as an issue and kind of stopped them from modding. So I'll see if I can try and bypass that for people. So what I'm going to do is open 3DSIMED. Let's actually get to these cars. So I'm going to open the folders for all these cars, and you basically want to bring those cars into 3DSIMED. So let's start with the 318. So that's what I'm using as a base model. So we'll import the 318. As you can see, there are so many versions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a copy and I'm going to put it in a new folder, just so that when I'm done with the tutorial I can go back and I haven't overwritten any of my other stuff. Okay, perfect. So let's open this mod, and it's as simple as that. You just go import, select the KN5, and now this mod is in here, all stock standard, nothing done to it. Then we will go to the 323, which is the one that I'm going to get the stack from. So if I just paste that in there and open the 323. Okay, once this loads, so here's the stack. I could take it from here, but what I'm going to do is I'll probably just export this as an FBX. So if I just go plug in export, I'll just choose FBX here and I'll save it as an FBX so that it doesn't hold the textures, and you'll see what happens when you do that. And then I'll import the one that I'm going to get the bumpers from. So I am using the exact same mod for the bumpers, so it's just going to be as simple as just swapping them over. So I'll just save the one and swap it onto this car. So that's the easy part. So this will make sure that you keep textures. So what I'm going to do is this one here. So I'll right click on the object, I'm going to go to it, and you see here's this front bumper, and if I right click here and I go here, here's this other bumper part. So these are the two parts that I want. So I'll go and I'll right click on both of them, object, front bumper, and I'll click this isolate button. If you feel like I am going a bit fast, you can check out my first video where I explained some of these things a little bit more in depth, but this basically opens it in a new window so that you can either save it or edit it or delete stuff from it. So once I've got these, I'm going to go to export textures. If you have imported anything, they'll show up in the recent folders. So here's this 318 stock. If there isn't a texture folder, create one. I always use a texture folder to save all the textures. And basically what this does is when you click export textures, it'll export these textures and save it so that when you save this, it knows what textures are for it. It's just something I've picked up along the way. I don't know if you're supposed to do it all the time. I do it all the time. So if I go in here, I already have an object folder, so I'm going to create another object folder. I just use OBJ as an example. You can call it whatever you want. This is where you're going to save the pieces that you want to put on another car. If you do it this way, it'll keep the textures. If you just export as an FBX and add it to the car, it's not going to keep the textures and you'll have to retexture it. So we'll close these, we've saved them, exported it, and then might as well do the back bumper as well. So if I select the back bumper, and I think I did add a black part behind it. Okay, well, we'll just leave that for now. If it isn't there, it's fine. So we'll close this car, and this is the other piece that I want to export. Select the texture folder. So you see, now it failed because I've already closed that. So what I'll do is I'm just going to save it anyway. It probably won't have textures, and I'll just have to retexture it, which is perfectly fine. We'll deal with that in the future, because if you're modding in Assetto, you're bound to find issues and figure out how to deal with them. Now this one is the stack. So if I take the stack, I export this, so you see here's my stack. It all looks red, but it's supposed to be chrome and whatnot, but we can deal with that in the future. I am just going to save this, and I'll save it in that same object1 folder, and I'm just going to save it as an FBX. So if I just go Autodesk FBX, those settings should be fine. If you do want to pause the video and have a look at the settings that I'm using, you can, but I think it's just the standard settings. Okay, so that's that. Adding it to the car. I'm going to select the front here, so I'll go Object, Front Bumper, and I'm going to replace. So this button here is the replace button. In the object one, we've got bumper front. So because it's the same mod that I've done stuff to, it just does it automatic replace. Now what I'm going to do is, because I'm now missing this middle piece, there's nothing here, you can see as it's blank. You can select this object or any object, but you select it, click the plus to duplicate this instance, replace, and I'm going to replace it with that extra bumper piece. So you see now it doesn't match, it's all not aligned. If this does happen, you can always just import the original mod that you got it from. So let's go, this will be the 340, so we'll copy this, we'll import this one, and you can basically just have a look at this and say this is the object that's misaligned, but it was aligned on the previous car. You can have a look and you can see this is what the location is. So I'm just going to go to here and I'm just going to copy and paste these values. So this one was 0 and then the height was 0.15. So if I copy that, paste this here, you see now it fits in. Because they are from the same exact mod, base mod, you know, they have the same position. If the position was slightly off, you could just fix it with Blender. Probably should have kept that open, because the bumper rear is going to be different. If I replace this with, if we go here, I think it was called stone, this is going to be very incorrect. I don't even know where this bumper part is. So yes, I will have to go and do the same thing. So if I just go back, I need to go back to this 340 and see what the location of that rear bumper piece was. And sometimes it could also be the scale that's off the rotation axis. So if I just go here, so top one is 0 and the other one is 0.02. So you see these are all different. So paste this in, this one, and if you look at the scale, this is 0.15, these are 1, so you can see now why these are not matching. I think it's so big, there we go, yeah, it's so big that you can't actually see it. So have a look, this is -90, so let's copy, paste that in, and it will now start scaling it accurately. Last one. So now it fits on the car. Now we can click the tick. So now we've basically swapped the front bumper and the rear bumper, so now it's a lot more like a spin car. Now I can see there is something sticking out. I see it's this trunk inner, which is something that this one doesn't have. So I'll fix that in Blender, not a problem. So have a look, I think it's just a piece that's sticking out, so that's fine. I'm going to now export textures. So now that we've changed the car and added something, you're going to want to export textures again. You can go to plugin export, you'll go here into the main file folder and you'll choose KN5. Make sure that you do KN5 and not KN5 load, and then always make a copy of the one that you're working on, just so that if you've messed anything up you can always just go back. Not having a backup when you need a backup is, yes, not great. So if I now go into showroom, you can see rear bumper's changed, front bumper's changed. Obviously the skin doesn't match now, so I would have to take one of the skins from here. So I'll just take one of the base skins. So if I go in here, I've created base skin, so I'll just go, it will be the 318, and I'll actually just create an extra one just because we're testing stuff. So I will call this, I'll just, can I scroll? I've changed the scaling on everything, so this thing is not working like I want. Okay, so I physically cannot save a new skin. I guess I'm just going to be working on the main skin. Yeah, I've set the scaling much bigger because I did notice that with the older, well, not the older, the previous video, it wasn't great. It was hard to read some of the stuff. So I just created a copy. Hopefully this works fine. So the 340 skins, and I'll just take it. I do use paint.net to do all my skins and stuff. So if I paste this in here, see paint.net will open. This is what I use to do all my skins. So I'll just remove all these extra things. I'm just going to save this as a DDS. And now the new one, the bumper should be colored. Because I've already AO mapped the object, so it's all perfectly fine. That I'll have to sort out eventually. But if you can see, now I've got bumpers. You didn't have to do much work to get it all sorted. And it should be fun in game. So the next thing is I want to now add a stack to this. I'm going to unpack it, and I'm going to do it through the Blender method. So you'll see why I don't do this with everything. Doing it with the stack is fairly simple because it's not a big object with a whole lot of different things that you need to texture. So let's close all of this. If I now go to Blender, when you open your Blender, just press A to select everything and delete it so that you have a blank project. Import, you'll choose FBX if I can find it. There it is there. Now you'll go to, if I just go here, it should be the last thing that's unpacked. And it'll say today. So if I go here, and the last modified is this model file. So if I open this, this is that same one. You see it has the new bumper, has this, and let's just fix this quickly. So you can see how these two things are clipping. So I'm going to press shift and select both the things, and if I press /, it isolates them so you can see them together, and you can see it's just clipping. So what I'm going to do is I'll have a look here, and I'll go into, so the vertices are selected. If I press Shift Z, I can go into the wire mode. So I can just shift over, so okay, I know it's this one here. So this one on this side and this one here. So I don't want to select the bottom one, and there's another one here. So it's this one here. So it's the one right next to it. So these two. And what I'm just going to do is I'm going to press G and Y. So it moves it on this axis, so it just moves it forward, and I'll just move it until it's out of sight. I can press tab, and if I just go back out, perfect. No problems, don't have to worry, can't see it anymore. Now let's import that. So you could import the entire car that you've exported as an FBX and just delete the parts. I'm just bypassing that because I don't feel like deleting all the parts. But if I go here, we now saved, if I go back in this object, we saved that stack FBX. If I import this, it says that it needs to be a certain version. There's an FBX Converter. So if you ever fall into issue that it can't do that, there's this FBX Converter. If you need the converter, I'll see if I can find it and put it in the video link. If not, just contact me on Discord and I can sort it out. So basically, I'm just going to add this. If I now go to the car, so it should be right at the top. I'm going to select the object stack, and I'll just convert it because it needs to be in this FBX 2013 format. It might be the way I exported in 3DSIMED, I'm not sure, but this works. So if I now go import FBX, if I go back and I go to object FBX 2013, it created a compatible version. So you see here it is here, and it's tiny. So I'm just going to press G to move everything that I imported, and I'll press S to scale, and I'm just going to make it a bit bigger. So I'll change the viewpoint, and that is way too big, so let's scale it down. Kind of want it to be the same size as the lot. So if we have a look, okay, yeah, this is the same size as the lot. Let's just go here, and if I press G, Y, it'll move it just forward and backwards. So I can move this here. Let's just see. Okay, that fits quite nicely in the lot. I'm not going to worry about it actually fitting, correctly in the engine bay, because obviously I have a different engine and it all doesn't work, so I won't do that. And I see that it is just a bit, it's clipping a bit through, so I will find the stack. I think it's just called stack. It is not called stack, so let's see, what is it called? Oh, VStack. So he has this VStack, and there's that. So I'm going to select both of these, and if I go here, actually, if I just get close enough, I'll press GY, and I'll move it forward just so that it's not clipping in any way, and let's actually just move it down, so I'll press G and Z just so that it kind of fits. I will remove the headlight glass quickly. I'm just going to gloss over this, so if this is something that you'd like to know more about, I'll do a video on selecting things and deleting it. So basically going to select it, go into edit mode, and I'm just going to delete the pieces because I don't need them anymore. So I'll press H to hide the stack because I want to get rid of the light. So you see these are both connected. Just going to delete these vertices. Okay, and then there are still more light pieces. Okay, this one here, delete that one as well. Just keep deleting it until there are no lights left to block the stack. I think it's just these pieces, so I'll delete these as well. So you see now it's just empty. Now if I unhide the stack is sticking out. And you can see everything's all good. Now we've added the stack to this. I'll go File, Export, FBX. Always remember, when you import a car into Blender from Assetto Corsa and you export it out, you have to change the scale to 0.01. Otherwise the car will be huge and it just won't work. So if we say Export FBX, there are small things that are not fitting. I mean, I could just go in here and fix it quickly. These are just things that you will have to do when you are modding and stuff. If I just move this in, so now everything kind of fits together. There's also pieces here that don't fit. I'll just fix them quickly. So I'm just pressing G and then X to move it along the X-axis. Not that piece. And I'll have to do it with the other side. I will maybe also do a video on like modifiers and stuff. You can also, maybe not that one, you can delete half of it, move half of it, and then apply a mirror modifier, and then that will, you know, you don't have to do the work twice like I'm doing here. You can just do it once. So I'm just going to do this quick. It's not going to be pretty or anything, but it'll do the job. So this one here, move this over a bit, and then just so things don't completely clip through, it just looks a bit better. Okay, now that I've made changes, I'm gonna have to export again. So export FBX. If you've already exported once, it'll remember the scale, so you don't have to do that again. Also make sure you select the correct model. If you select a different one, it won't keep the textures because it's not the same model that you imported. So that's very important. If you're just importing other models and you save it, it won't have the textures of the model that you imported on top of another model, which is why this stack won't actually have a texture. If you went in here and gave it a texture and everything, or used an existing material, that material already has a texture bound for this specific FBX. I could be incorrect, but that's what I've noticed, and that's how I see things are working. So next we'll go to KsEditor. Just wait for this to open. Make this a bit smaller so it fits. Okay, so if I go File, Open FBX, I'm going to go back to that one that I saved, so 318, Unpacked, and it is this here, so this model FBX. If I bring this in here and I just try and save it, I'm pretty sure it'll give me an error because the material doesn't have textures. So this will be something I'm sure a lot of people have been excited, added something to a mod, and then all of a sudden you're now stuck because you can't save all the work that you've done and you don't want to restart. And yeah, no, I've been there. So if you look at it, you see it's got nothing. There's no texture, anything. So if I just go File, Save, Car, and I'm like, yay, I'm so excited, I did all this work, I'm so happy, and then error, null texture on material. This is probably the error that lots of people have got. So that just means that there are objects on the car that don't have texture. So if you right click on an object, it'll select it here and it'll show you what it's selected. When you click on material, this is all the information about the car. This is the material. I'm just going to change this to multi-map. Don't need the damage. So if I change it, this is all the specifications. So it changes all different stuff. And then these are the skins assigned. If I go to the stack, there's nothing. It just has standard KS per pixel, standard values, and there is no texture assigned to it. So this is the error that people are probably getting. These have textures because I copied them from another car, saved them in 3DSIMED, added it to the car, saved that as an FBX, and then exported the whole car as a whole to Assetto Corsa, and then unpacked it. So it's all technically one file working together, whereas this, you're now combining things, which causes this issue. So what you'll do is you'll right click on the object. If you can't find the object that doesn't have a texture, you can just go to materials, and if you scroll through these, it'll be red to show you that these things don't have textures. So if you know what they're called, like this is the stack and this is the metal. So the metal is obviously going to be the metal pipe that's in here. So where is it? Somewhere here. This metal pipe, and the stack will be the actual stack. So let's texture this quickly. What I'll do is, if you don't have the textures ready to assign to it, so for the metal, I'm going to assign a texture. I'm going to use the same chrome that's on here. So you can right click on something like this chrome. It uses dark. So you'll go to material tools, copy material. It'll copy all of this information, so all these numbers, and just have a look. So this will be KS per pixel reflection. So I'll just go here. If I'm unable to click on it, I can just go materials, and I know that this one is the one that's called metal. So I select it and you can see it's here. So this was KS per pixel reflection, so I'll choose that. I can go to material tools, paste material, and it'll apply this thing that you copied. So you copied these material properties. It still doesn't have a texture, so I'll just have a look. This one is dark.dds. So if I now go back and I find this pipe, right click on the pipe, I can click these three dots to select a texture. If you've unpacked the car and already had stuff on it, you can reuse that. So if I go to unpacked texture, I'm just going to look for that. So dark.dds. Now this has the same texture as this chrome with the same information stuff. It's just on its own material. So that's that done. For the stack, it's a little bit different. I probably want it to be a similar, shine and everything as the body. So I'll just copy material from the body, and I'll just make it a reflection. Doesn't need anything else. Or you can also do KS per pixel NM. I can go material tools, paste. It'll now apply nice shines and everything to it. So that now has that. Let's just see. Okay, it's all one object. Now I don't have anything for this. So what I'll do is I'll open this. I'll go file new. I'll just say 512 by 512. So I'll make a square, and I want my stack to be purple. So I'll select purple, select the paint thing, paint this. That's more of a pink, so let's just go darker. So I'll save this, and I can save it in the skin folder, or I can save it in the textures folder, wherever you want. I'm just going to put in the textures folder. That's just in the actual car, and I'll call this stack dot, I'll just call it .png. I'll save it as a PNG, so I've saved that now. If I go to this, so where I save it, so it's in the car, and then I saved it just in the texture folder, and if I look for stack, here's stack.png. So I select that. So now we've got like this really obnoxious purple stack. And if you do go the KS pixel NM route, let's just actually go out of this. If you go reflection, you don't need anything else. You just need a color. That's it. If you do go the NM route, you'll select, and you can see it looks a bit weird. Most cars will have it, but if I select a car, it uses, this has got a normal small. Most things use like a something, like a flat NM. So if I go here, flat NM, and this should be on most cars. So I'm just going to use that. Select it, go here, and just press F for flat NM. So you see now it looks kind of the same as the reflection does. So we'll go here, file, save, car. We'll now save it over, and you can just always make a copy so that you don't have to worry about if you've messed something up. You can always go back, save the car, no problems, no texture issues, everything should be good. If I go into here, we now have a stack. Everything's all in here. There are small things like there's an object behind this. So if I go here, if I hide the stack, there is this object that exists behind it and everything. You will need to start cutting things out. There is a whole nother thing with Nav Project where you can cut shapes and stuff out of other things. That is something else that I might go through in another video, but yeah, this is the basics of doing it. And if I take it into game, let's go out of this, let's go here, and let's just drive. I can also just update previews, and you'll see it'll update with everything. So you see now it's got the stack. So if I just go to drive, I have no idea what track this is going to be on. Oh, I think it's on my testing track. I test on Monument Valley. I haven't launched the game in this resolution before, but I mean, it should be fine. It probably will launch the game in 2K, whereas the tutorials in 1080p. So let's just wait for this to load, and yeah, that's about it. Doing it with the KsEditor route, texturing it all yourself isn't that difficult if you know what you're doing, but doing it where you copy from another mod and just copy it over, it is definitely a lot easier, but that's both ways of doing it. Yeah, so I hope you feel like you've learned a bit more from this video. If you do have any questions, just let me know in the comments, or you can DM me on Discord. I don't mind helping, trying to make sure that the modding community stays alive. And yeah, this BWorks out.